Hi guys, it's Janet with Living Room Talks. Today I have Larry Bell with me. Larry, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I am Larry Bell. I am a certified athletic trainer at Stetson University in DeLand, Florida. I've been certified for 15 years now, so that makes me one of the seasoned ones. I recently read something on Twitter that millennial, so that's fun. But I enjoy what I do and look forward to getting to know you.
So 15 years in the profession, what keeps you motivated?
For me, it's serving the kids, helping the kids be the best that they can be, and even not just the kids, but coworkers, friends, family, using my knowledge and what I've learned over the years to help everyone be the best they can be and optimal performance.
So over the years as a certified athletic trainer, you've probably been a preceptor and mentor to a lot of people. What characteristics do you look for, and what are some pitfalls that YPs fall into?
One of mine is someone who's willing to just put in the work. This is sometimes a thankless profession. So, someone who's dedicated to helping people. It's something that we don't always do for the accolades. It's something that you do and you do it to get something for it from yourself more so than other people. And one of the main pitfalls that I've seen is over expectations. A lot of YPs come in and they expect to get the best right off the bat and not realizing that it's going to take some work to get the best, whether that's proving yourself to some of the coworkers or to the athletes or the administration even. Some YPs come in and they want the respect, especially right from the beginning, right from the outset, and it doesn't always work that way in this profession.
How do you think one earns the respect of their peers and the coaches or whoever they're working with?
For me, I've learned it's about the knowledge that you give them. If you show them that you know what you're doing, they're more apt to trust you. The athletes, especially if you're an AT that's new to them, is you have to earn their trust that you will take care of them. And I've learned that you do that by the knowledge that you show, and also it's your approach. You can't be too abrasive. You can't be a know-it-all, so to speak. Is you have to, even though you know that you know more than they do, you have to figure out a way that works, and a lot of that is through communication. So being an open communicator and also having the knowledge show stand behind what you know as well.
So do you have a moment where you knew that athletic training was going to be your profession and your career?
It started for me in high school. I was a high school wrestler, and my alma mater, one of the clinical sites was my high school. So the first day that I met two of the athletic training students that came out, I was already interested. At that time, it was physical therapy. And they came out and they sat with us in the wrestling room, and getting to talk to them do, I realized that athletic training would suit me more than physical therapy would, because it was a way to be around sports and continue. I knew my wrestling career wasn't going to continue after college. So athletic training would be a way for me to continue to be involved in athletics and help people at the same time.
Tell me a little bit about the mentors that you've had in the past and ones that you so currently call up at a moment's notice when you have an issue that you want to talk through.
One of my biggest mentors, you know very well, Mr. Rob Dix. He was one of the ones that we looked up to at the Valdosta State Athletic Training Education Program. We knew him through name, and when I finally met him, it was, he looks like me. Representation matters to me. So seeing and meeting someone who looked like me and went through the same struggles that I did in the same program, it stood out to me. So he's one that I know I can call, I can text and say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? What would you do? I need some advice. Monroe Abram is another. So for me, it's the older Black ATs who've been in this profession and can relate to my struggles. At the high school level, Dr. Jim Terwilliger, he was one that he's passed on now, but he was one that I could look to and say, hey, this is what's going on. I was able to sit and learn from him my first year in the profession and not feel overwhelmed because he ended up being at Sanford Seminole High School for 35 years. So he knew the ins and outs. He knew the kids. He knew their families. A lot of the kids as parents were his athletes also. So I learned about relationships, especially from him. And I mapped how I formed those relationships, especially when I was at the high school level from him. And same one of my preceptors when I was in college, Philip Peplo. He's one that I can still call on if I need to and say, hey, this is what's going on. What should I do? What would you do? How would you handle this situation?
So you mentioned some struggles that you've had during as an athletic training student and throughout your career. What were some of the biggest issues that you faced and how did you overcome them?
The biggest issues were one being new and new to the profession. So as we mentioned earlier about proving yourself, it was being patient and not getting angry when my advice wasn't followed, when I was shut out. It was a matter of staying patient and trusting my training and sticking with what I knew and being patient and letting everything work itself out.
Switching gears a little bit, obviously NATA convention is virtual this year, but going to an in-person NATA convention, what do you look forward to? Is there an agenda that you set? And what do you usually get out of it?
My favorite thing is the networking part. So it's building those new relationships. It's 6 degrees of separation a lot of the time. So more than likely, someone you're going to run into knows someone that you know. So for me, it's continuing to build those relationships and networking and also learning new information. Medicine, sports medicine changes so often. So sitting in the workshops and actually learning new information is another thing that I look forward to.
What was the first convention that you went to and what was your lasting impressions from it?
My first one was back in 2006 in Atlanta, and it was almost overwhelming. But my favorite part was meeting a lot of the names that I'd heard and read about. So, especially, I mentioned Robin Monroe earlier, those were the first times that I met them in person. So, you read literature, you talk to people who know them. So, running into a lot of those big names early and getting to put a name with a face and the Valdosta State Athletic Training Party was another big one also. So it was people who've been through similar experiences, and a lot of them had gone on to do other things. So being able to meet other Blazer alumni was my favorite part of it, and seeing the ATs outside of the professional setting as well.
So being in the collegiate setting, was it a goal of yours or an aspiration? And how did you know this was the right setting for you?
Coincidentally, it wasn't. It was, I was prepared to stay at the high school setting, and that ended up not working. So I moved into the clinical setting, which was great. It made me a better clinician, but it wasn't as rewarding as I'd hoped it to be. So I got a phone call from Edward Waters College. I'd actually forgotten I'd applied for it, and I ended up there and absolutely loved the collegiate setting. It was the main part was being able to do athletic training and strictly athletic training. A lot of the times at the high school setting, you're a teacher also. So for the first time being able to do athletic training and only athletic training, it was rewarding in a way that high school wasn't for me, and that I could see the kids as often as I needed to help them get better. So that was my favorite, and it still is my favorite part, is we get to do and see the kids as often as we can to help them get better, whether it's treatments, whether it's rehabs, whether it's with them at workouts or practices, being with the kids and helping them get better and do the best they can. That's my favorite part of it.
So I'm sure every athletic trainer have experienced bouts of burnout and having issues with work-life balance. How did you deal with all that, and what methods, coping mechanisms worked best for you?
For me, it's just having boundaries. Is done, work is done. So you communicate that with the administration, with your coaches, with the athletes, as you draw those boundaries and you stick to them. and also having an outlet. So for me, lifting and reading are my favorites. So something outside of athletic training, something to get away. That's how I balance work and life, and also making sure that my family is a priority. That's something that my administration knows. That's something that the coaches know, and even the athletes is you let them know where your priorities are, and you work on balancing that. There are times where you're going to get busy and you may have to put your needs on the back burner, but you make sure that you come back to your needs. So for me, it's always making sure that I'm first, that proverbial, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you make sure that you take care of yourself in order that you can take care of others.
So you talked about reading. What do you like to read?
Some of everything, but modern fantasy is my favorite. Yeah, well, I was exposed to The Lord of the Rings when I was in the 6th grade, and that's been my favorite genre since I can remember. But I also read sports psychology. That's my master. So I read a lot of sports psych books, sports psych articles, a lot of professional and personal development books also. So things that interest me that I might not have the greatest knowledge on, I'm not above picking it up and learning something new.
What was the last book you read?
The last book I read was one called Dear Coach, which is one of the professors in the sports psych program out at Adams State University. I end up getting a signed copy from her. So that was the last book that I fully read.
What was the last modern fiction or sci-fi book that you read?
Right now, I just picked it up. It's Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archives. I picked up book 4 a couple of days ago, and I read about 2 pages last night before I got busy. So I'm working my way through that one now.
So my last question, and it's always my favorite question. Tell me about an embarrassing moment you've had, and what did you learn from it?
Whoa, an embarrassing moment. Let's see. I would have to say falling while going out to the field. And that taught me never be in too big of a hurry, because if you get injured, who's going to take care of the person who's injured? So that was my reminder to always take care of myself and not get in too big of a hurry, because bad things can happen to us as well.
So Larry, next couple of minutes is for you, your closing statement.
My closing statement is be great at what you do. Enjoy it, be great at it, and adversity is going to come. Find ways that work for you to overcome that adversity and be great.
Larry, thank you so much for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Janet. You have a great one.